Do you ever
Yes.
get tired?
Uh, my Wednesdays is my most stacked day of the week right now.
Oh,
So yeah, so it's real in the field.
okay, okay, okay. Well, we are live, and
Yes.
it's
Hey. What's up?
interesting. Welcome to my TV-DMV. We are back, and we are live, and we have a interesting topic tonight. The moon must have been reading my mind. Some telepathy going on, because I
Mm-hmm.
can't wait to share. And then here
Yes.
you are with this topic. So
Yes.
let us know what we have to look forward to tonight as we continue to use these tools that you're giving us to help us in our daily lives.
Yes. Movement for self-improvement, enlightenment. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yes.
Tonight's conversation is what is it? Afrofuturism, parallel universes, and
Mm.
the age of the super Herus.
Whew.
Sheesh. Okay. First and foremost, this is going to be a great conversation, but I want everybody watching to know this is really part one. Might even be part zero. We've been talking about the science, sacred numerology and mathematics in some of our previous sessions. We didn't go all in on any of that. So those of y'all
Mhm.
who are just catching up, y'all y'all did miss something per se, but you can go back because you can go on the YouTube page, my TV-DMV, and go back, pass the jewels on. Please share the YouTube
Definitely.
videos. But if anyone who knows me knows that part of my gift is synchronizing, overstanding how a little bit of this and a little bit of that make a full picture that helps us graduate in understanding, overstanding, and understanding. But many things that get touched on thus far and through this continual conversation, that we could easily grab one aspect of these conversations and do a whole session.
Hmm.
We could do a whole session on just one facet of this crystal city that we're addressing here. Same thing for this conversation here. And even when I thought about the title of today's session, uh, Afrofuturism. I mean, in the comments for those of y'all who are in here already, and for those of y'all who comment on YouTube, what is Afrofuturism to you? And put it that way in the comment. Let's see the comment section look like people who are really developing and building an idea, as opposed to just people commenting. Right, because
Hmm.
we know how YouTube is. We know that there's a lot of times we see criticisms and jokers and all that type of stuff going on in the comments. But let's change the nature of what's going on when you come into here. This place is called my TV for a reason. You know
Yes,
what I
it
mean?
is.
And it ain't television. You know what I'm saying? It's tele. You know what I'm saying? It's television. You know what I'm saying? Communication from the telekinetic, telepathic to the visual realm. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's our crown communicating with the side belt of the planet Earth, and the whole Earth speaking to the galactic membrane, and us growing in our sense of universalness. So Afrofuturism, now of course we know Afro has been used as just like a way to address the African aspect of it, and it's not really my word. But
Mhm.
when I was first exposed to quote Afrofuturism, it really began listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Huh?
Like when we think about the album covers for Earth, Wind, and
Oh
Fire's
yeah.
albums, the first one that comes to mind is the All and All album cover. And that's why I say this is really just conversation one, because I literally just came in from work and came in here. So all of the images that I would love to show, I'm gonna give y'all references and y'all find them. But when we do this, when we bring this topic back, we're gonna have it laid out buttery with all the pictures and everything and develop it further. But the Earth, Wind, and Fire All in All album has the Temple of Luxor on the cover.
Mm.
Right. And so you have the two huge statues of Ramses and the pharaohs. I don't know if it's Ramses Seti, but the huge pharaoh statues and the huge doorway, the huge gateway. Yeah, all in all. Um, And when you open that album cover up,
when
you open it up, yeah, if you can find the exact one,
okay,
yep, that's Spirit. Keep sliding to the side. Yeah, keep going all the way to the right. It'll come up. It's not none of those though.
okay.
It's the one with the one with the keep going. Yep. All Earth, Wind, and Fire, all in all. You put all in the top.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, if you put Earth, Wind, and Fire, all in all album cover. Even though a lot of those album covers are doing it. But when you open the album up, it opens up to Pyramid. There we go. Right.
This
So
one?
that's one of the covers. That's the cover that people usually see when you first get the album, and then when you open it up, it's a bunch of full octahedron pyramids. So instead of just seeing the top of the pyramid, you actually see the top of the pyramid and the bottom of the pyramid, and there's all types of rocket ships and technology and things surrounding the pyramid. So if you could imagine me at the age of like 9, 8 years old, looking at these album covers, and I'm opening it up, and I'm like, there's so much that this art is saying to me. Can we blow that up by any chance?
Okay, let me see.
But looking at these album covers said so much to me as a youngin. But the reality was there was not adults around me having these type of discussions. There was not a conversation of any adults around me talking to me about ancient Egypt or Kush or South Africa or any of these things. And I was kind of wondering, am I the only person that's interested? Like as a child, like I'm like, I guess none of this stuff, like there's no adults around me that find this stuff interesting. So here I am wondering about a bunch of stuff that don't nobody care about. And a lot of that provoked me to become who I am now. That my investigation, yeah, there we go. So this album, when you open this album up, it unfolds into a 3-panel image with rocket ships and octahedron. It's a really amazing image to come out of. I think the year this album came out was 1977. It was either 77 or 73, but I'm not sure which. Might have been 78. But when I think about Afrofuturism, I think about this album cover, and so when we consider the conversation of Afrofuturism, most people probably, if they know anything about it at all, Afrofuturism is an art and movement, futuristic perception of what we are and who we are, really in a parallel universe where we're undisturbed by colonialism. So the closest thing that most people have got to an Afrofuturistic perspective is Wakanda. Right? The idea of Black Panther and Wakanda and vibranium and all of the high technology that was occurring in this place called Wakanda, and how Wakanda did it all on its own without being disturbed, but had to constantly protect its secrecy from outsiders because they had relationships with time, space, element, technology. You mean they had a relationship with the universe and the earth that far transcended anybody else who was living on the earth with them. But they already knew that not only were there people on the continent that wanted to tap into what they had to offer, but in particular, there were invaders from outside of their sacred space that would do anything to have what they have, including pillage their land and murder their people, right? So when we deal with Afrofuturism, we're dealing with continuing to graduate the psychological, emotional, spiritual, technological, and just generally the whole mentality around what it is to say I am Black, and live with, beyond Blackness. Of course, we know Black is just a word. It means be lack and all of that. We're really speaking on being children of Ra. We're really speaking of being melaninites. We're really talking about what it is to be the crystallization of children of the Most High and how that develops, right? So these Earth, Wind, and Fire covers and a lot of album covers coming from that time bring imagery to the conversation of Afrofuturism, right? Some other references that people can get into. There are books on Afrofuturism, lots of them. But Sun Ra and the conversations of Sun Ra and the Sun Ra Orchestra, big influence in the mood of Afrofuturism, even getting into the jazz, how the jazz and the music of that time was the soundtrack of the Beyonders. The soundtrack of who we are when we begin to crystallize our higher vision and what it would be to just be uninterrupted creators and inventors, right? So that's the Afrofuturism part of today's topic. So Afrofuturism, parallel universes, right? In the battle rap leagues, there's a couple. There's one rapper who really started it, but eventually everybody started saying, "Do you believe in a parallel universe?" And then they would go ahead and say some type of line to diss the guy across from them with a parallel universe thing. But what we are beginning to overstand, and you can get your YouTube on with this too. Type in parallel universes. The observation of quantum physics, right? Understanding that there is a very pure observation that time does not just move from past, present to future. Time also moves from future, present to past. And then here goes where things get interesting. When you begin to talk about monatomic gold, right? And we get into some of the Star Trek, Star Wars, cosmic conversation of Alkebalan, of Africa, right? Well, there are many things to discuss with the Neteru, going back into ancient Kemet, and the conversation of the Neteru continue along the Nile, the upper Nile, which we call Ethiopia and Kush, right? Those conversations in the Kushite pyramids, all of that carries mystery of beings who were basically folding time and space and bouncing back and forth between Earth and other star systems. But the most revered of the star systems is the star system Sirius, right? Today, by the way, is the first day of the solar new year in the 13 moon Mayan calendar, right? Yesterday was the day out of time. Yesterday was the day out of time. Today is the first day of the new solar year in the 13 moon calendar. And this is a very, very real aspect of measuring time. So to have a conversation about Afrofuturism and parallel universes today is very relevant to everybody who's hearing this conversation. It's actually a call to awareness. Each person has your own zero time reference. We all have our own zero time reference. And tuning in with the fact that your relationship with time, space in and of itself gives you your own unique electromagnetic influence in time and space. So I was talking about monatomic gold before I went on that tangent to bring it here. When we deal with ancient Kemet and when we deal with ancient Sumer, or Mesopotamia. The conversation of the Anunnaki comes in. And the Anunnaki were known to deal with gold as a sacred substance. And in fact, the foundation of the Anunnaki story around why the Anunnaki even came to Earth, in part, was about their search for a metal called Zahab. Right? Zahab is what we presently call gold. Now, how that connects in some ways to ancient Kemet is that the manifestation of Ra on Earth is Asar, right? So Ausar, Wasar, right? Or Wasar. Well, Au is the two letters that symbolize gold on the periodic table, right? The Au stands for aurelium. You know, so that's all ray, really all ray I am, all ray Allah I am, you know. So we're talking about the power of gold as a element and the resonance of gold. And here's where we get into this past, present, future zero time reference thing. Samples of monatomic gold in laboratories. They would be doing these experiments with this gold, fine white gold powder. And they would have it weighed out to, let's say, 10 grams. And they would leave the laboratory and come back. And when they came back, it would be like 9.89 grams of gold there. And they would be trying to figure out who took a tenth of a gram of gold powder out of here. There's no wind blowing in there. It's a sealed laboratory. What they began to understand over time was that the monatomic gold was quantum tunneling.
Quantum tunneling?
Yes. That means that the gold powder was actually disappearing. The gold powder is so sensitive to electromagnetic energy that it could tap into energy fields that were extremely subtle and literally blink off out of what we recognize as space and time. So when we talk about the Neteru, the Anunnaki, and other beings like us that have already been on this planet, these are the beings that were taking this stuff, knew about the stuff, and delivered the science of monatomic gold and other monatomic elements to us. The reason why this stuff is a conversation right now amidst people who are dealing in the world of supplements on a high resonance comes from the ancient ones. This is a part of the Afrofuturism conversation. Because when we're talking about supreme technology, the first acknowledgement of supreme external technology is the acknowledgement of supreme internal technology. So if we go back to the Earth, Wind, and Fire album covers again, there's another album cover that draws Afrofuturistic conversation. And that's that album cover for the album Power Light.
Power Light?
Power Light. And so this is it can be considered a somewhat basic image, but to draw off of this conversation and see that album cover will help us recognize that the golden light, or what we're seeing exhibited by the Golden Boy, aka Steph Curry, being in the golden state, is to be at a point where your synchronicity is so sweet that you manifest the highest qualities of dexterity. And so when you're dealing with somebody who not only is disciplined, he practices, but there's something about his character that is also a natural charm. There's a natural charm to his level of talent and skill. It's more than just aiming, shooting, and he's tapped into a truly golden state. And what you see on this album cover is expression of a human being, or a being of living gold or black gold. Speaking of which, there's a song that's a soundtrack, another song that's a soundtrack to this, which is I Am the Black Gold of the Sun by Rotary Connection. Yeah, I am the black gold of the sun. These are all affirmatives. These are all affirmations of I am on a cosmic level, but we've experienced that level of I am on this planet, and it's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So Afrofuturism and parallel universes, the conversations of parallel universes are becoming very normal, right? And the graduation to parallel universes just acknowledges that the more things we do that engage spiritual exercise in our physical body
Mm-hmm.
and acknowledgement of transformation is actually us engaging in another octave of what we consider the present universe. Can we blow this image up at all?
Let's see. Can you see it?
It didn't come up yet on our side yet.
Oh, okay.
Um, but another octave of this reality, right? So in practice, what does this mean? Yes, that's the Power Light album cover. There we go. So this, if you look at this image right here, and you see the golden being with the seven chakras noted, the eight as the infinity right in the middle of his being, which is really illustrating the Taurus field of energy that goes on in the body and around the body. But if you look right behind them, you'll see a planet. If you look behind the lower left right foot of the character, there's another planet back there, right? This being is the sun. This is another album cover. When you look on the other side, you'll see that the being is in the sun, and that person is the center of a solar system. So just the other day, I was on a Clubhouse call, and a guy was talking about how when we deal with astrophysics, astrology, and solar biology, we get to understanding that the solar system is us. We are the solar system, and we are graduating to a level of universal remembrance where we can begin to understand who we are in the grand scheme of things. As I look out the window and see the half moon, so these levels of I am conversations and beginning to acknowledge that who we are and what we are is much, much bigger than the context that we have been placed in. You see, so these are images you're seeing. These Earth, Wind, and Fire covers is from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't just Brother Amun just yappity yapping off, philosophizing. This stuff was here when I was born. When I got here, a lot of this stuff was already here. The map was already there. It's just a matter of the recognition, right? The jazz, the conversations of Sun Ra, and the music, such as the song "Fantasy" by Earth, Wind, and Fire. When they talk about the 12th of Never, they talk about August 12th. And August 12th this year is a big vortex day, huge vortex day. For those of y'all who have done any studies on the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk Project, every 40 years the Earth's biorhythm goes into a what they call a maximum pump.
How is the Philadelphia experience related to August 12th?
That's the day. That was the day, August 12th, 1943.
Mm-hmm.
That's the day that the USS Eldridge, USS Eldridge was made to disappear out of the Philadelphia harbor. And
Oh.
then that day was the same day that the Montauk project went full, like it went all in. You know what I'm saying? The Montauk Project opened up all types of vortexes, all types of beings came down here. There's a lot of conversations on the Montauk Project, but there's there's a lot more
Mm-hmm.
than quote meets the eye. But yeah, this vortex day, 1943, August 12th. Then the next time was 1983, August 12th, and then 40 years from that, it's 2023, August 12th.
Wow.
You know, so we're graduating into this reality where being able to engage in this new NU world order, right? It's
Mm.
not a matter of what they're trying to construct with their things and these guys, even at their deepest, when the ones that are coming from our future and the ones that are coming from our past come
Mm-hmm.
here, it's gonna, if you ever watched third part of the conversation, and the super Herus, so now you see the solar being in the sun, right? And we know that Heru in ancient Kemet, Heru is a sun god, right? The son of Osset and Osar, right? Heru is a manifestation of Ra on the earth, but he's like the new Genesis. He's the next one. He's
Mm-hmm.
the one bringing the new reality and cleaning up the yucky stuff from the old age. When this new order of super Herus here, the, the reckoning and the cleaning up of this planet is going to be swift.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the beings that are here aren't going to want to let go. They're going to fight with all of their power. Revelation says it will be a great and dreadful day. It will be a horrible battle, but they also said it won't be a long one. So it's going to be another horrible Star Wars, like the Archangel Michael fighting in the heavens and banishing beings to this realm. But it's going to happen again, and it's going to be horrible again, but it's going to be short because you're not going to be able to do electromagnetic war with beings who, of their own living resonance, can talk to all of your machines. Just with their resonance, they can talk to all of the machines. You know, so now the super Herus conversation comes into play. What is it to be so tapped into the sun that the level of electricity and magnetism that's being presently used to function these machines is like second grader stuff to a quantum physicist, right? It's small grade stuff that people are externally depending on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so now this is where the conversation begins to get interesting. We can go deep into the world of Afrofuturism and understanding what it is to talk to our technology, which we're doing right now, right? But the conversation of the AI working in service to ones who are masters of it, do we understand that conversation is an old conversation? Have you ever heard, Sister Austin? And have you heard about the woman that was found inside of her spaceship on the dark side of the moon?
Yes.
Okay, the woman that was found on the spaceship on the dark side of the moon looks almost identical to the woman on the cover of the Earth, Wind, and Fire double CD box set.
Earth, Wind, and Fire double CD.
Yeah, they had a double CD box set that came out years ago. What's interesting is that I took that image and made a clay sculpture that was based on that image. And the woman that they found on the dark side of the moon looks just like her. And the thing is that image is the image of what they refer to as the Hathors. The Hathors are basically a race of goddesses that rule the planet Venus.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hathors are the ones that the word Hathor, it really is Hathor, or I think it is that album. It is that album set right there. But her image was on the back. Click that one right there. But she was on the back of it. I think the male figure was on the front and she was on the back. But click on that because she might be in that image. I just can't tell by how small it is right now. But yeah, the Hathors are very real, and the Hathors are and were, because some things have happened in the solar system that's thrown things off. But these are the beings that were basically gave people permission to enter our solar system. Beings that came from other galaxies couldn't even get up in this joint without their permission.
Without the Hathors?
Without the Hathor's permission, without Herus permission, beings couldn't even enter our solar system. And as much as people who might live on the Earth might think, what do you mean people couldn't get into the solar system? Well, consider that a solar system is spinning. Consider that a solar system is moving. Consider that every planet in a solar system actually builds an energetic field. Consider that energetic field is a force field. Consider that if people on planets are conscious, well, how conscious is a whole planet? Okay, so how conscious is a group of planets working together to keep things peace inside of their collective atmosphere? Now, let's deal with star beings that are the inhabitants of the second planet in that solar system that are charged with the responsibility for making sure everything is Tawhid around here, because they understand that the solar system and the planets in that solar system are related to other systems. Right? So yeah, so just getting into that, the woman that was found, the Hathor who was found on the dark side of the moon inside of her ship. On the front is the cosmic king image, the Lord. It looked like the Lord of the Sacred Flame. So she's on the back of that album. Okay. Yeah, she's on the back of it. They don't show the whole joints. Oh no, hold up! If you can zoom in, that's her image. I think that's her image right in the middle.
This
one? I don't know if you can zoom it in or not, but I think right in his chest, I think that's her image. I'm not sure though, but yeah, I haven't seen it in my physical hands in over 15 years easily, but I remember stuff like that, very, very well. But yeah, all for your own notes. For those of y'all who are watching this, take notes. But these are real things. So the Afrofuturism thing, when they discovered her, they said she was sleeping and there was tubes in her face and in her body that kept her in stasis, but she was connected to the ship. So she was telepathically communicating to her craft. And apparently there was a mishap of some kind that her ship crashed. And they discovered this. I think they said it was a 3-mile long craft on the dark side of the moon. And so you're dealing with, beings that carry great responsibility. And were on missions that were big deals, very, very big deals. So even when people think small, for whatever reason we think small, all of us are not meant to stay in this conversation where we only perceive ourselves in this fractional way. I'm looking at the sky. The sky out here looks really, really interesting right now. But first day of the new Mayan year, you know what I'm saying? We are dealing with these things in real life and in real time. And the graduation of parallel universes. People are seeing the sky flash in the middle of the night. Literally seeing the sky go from bright blue to black at 4 o'clock in the morning. I've seen it a bunch of times when I was a kid. Of course, we know about the sprites, the bursts of lightning that go off in the sky. We hear the conversations about the orbs, which I think we talked about last session, and ball lightning. There's a lot of universal life here on the planet Earth. A big part of us tapping into what it is to experience a jump, per se, a universal jump, which is our responsibility. If you look at your family, love your family, and keep your family close, or if your family chooses to stay close, because I'm kind of on the margin with that, like me and
I love that part.
like with me and my children, my children are me, so they're connected to all the divine gifts I have, without a doubt. However, I have to also observe that there are children and younger human beings that might attract to what I have to offer with more fervor. They might be more excited about what I'm sharing than the ones that come from me.
Okay.
Because we're dealing with parallel universes, unfortunately, some of the people who we love may choose to end up on a magicless earth. They may buy into so much of the conversation that they get on the internet and on YouTube from all the things that appeal to their young minds, that they might begin to start thinking, hey, the stuff that my people practice as a spiritual way and ritual isn't for me. I like to eat swine and listen to Metallica and wear all black and hang out with people who kiss dogs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they might be on something else. We can't shame them for choosing which universe they want to be in. We can only hope that the heaven on earth experience that will give them the opportunity to experience a savior reality, right? A righteous rapture as opposed to an unrighteous rapture. We can only hope for that. But our practice, those of us who know we are the heads of our family, our practice of Afrofuturism as a living vision, and the graduation to a parallel universe that synchronizes us with the supreme beings that do represent Ezekiel's wheel, that do represent Elijah's chariot of fire, that do tap into the subterranean high consciousness of Atlantis, Mu, Lemuria, Shambhala, and Agartha, right? We know now that there's a crystal pyramid in the depths of the abyss in the Bermuda Triangle, right? These things are known. So don't for 1 second think that the beings who are in this crystal pyramid in the Bermuda Triangle on the base of the sea floor are more colonizer image than indigenous Caribbean image. You think these people don't resonate with the frequency of the people who are true natives to Haiti or Hispaniola, should we say, or Cuba or Barbados or Bermuda?
What did you call Haiti?
Hispaniola. That's the name of the island. Okay. Haiti and the Dominican Republic are the name of the countries that's on the island. But the island is called Hispaniola. And actually, that's not really the name of the island, because that's the name that came from Latin. You know what I'm saying? But, I'm just saying that rather than to separate it as two countries, that land is a whole land. And part of the Haitian evolution / revolution is their relationship with those subaquatic beings. those subaquatic beings helped them win. Yeah, they helped them win. And there's deeper conversations about that, with that says that there were some things that weren't done in the right way, and that relationship that they had with those beings got thrown off. And when that got thrown off, a whole lot of other stuff got thrown off. And so we don't see the Afrofuturistic destiny that could and very well may be the future of Haiti. It's a big reason why they keep them people so separated from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the reason why they keep the people of the Dominican Republic caught up in the caste system, keeping the light from the dark and all of that.
Right.
Same thing with here. The reason why they keep so much segregation between black folks and white folks. You know what I'm saying? Like when we think about Florida, right? And Ron DeSantis and all of his shenanigans. He's not the best representative of the white man. If they think that this dude is really the charismatic leader of their most prosperous future, they're clowning themselves. You know what I'm saying? They're clowning themselves. We need leaders that have planetary consciousness. Now he's on track with a lot of stuff. I like a lot of stuff that he's doing. But when it comes to separating the indigenous people from the people who are just residents of that state, no. Florida is a Caribbean peninsula.
Yes.
It's a Caribbean peninsula. It's connected to North America, but it's a Caribbean peninsula. If the people of Florida could just tap in to the wavelength of the latitudinal and longitudinal signature that they have in that land, New Orleans, Florida, these places are the capital of the United States of America, energy-wise. But we can't discuss Afrofuturism without talking about geographical PowerPoints, which goes into Atlanta, right? Atlanta is in between the same latitudinal lines as the Great Pyramids. Right between, I think we're between the 33rd and the 34th parallel. Very powerful place, and in a triangle of great mountains, crystal mountains, Mount Arabia, Mount Panola, and Stone Mountain. So all of these things are very relevant observations to what resonates to the creation of the parallel earth. That resonates as thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Right? So did we have any people to do oracle readings, or should I just continue to go on? Do you have any questions? Stimulate the conversation. I'll be feeling sometimes like I'm just going on and on and on and on.
No, I love it. Okay, so there was my best friend was here this weekend, and she has this kind of conflicting relationship with her mom. She is so I tried to take her to this cookout that I went to so she could kind of have some fun. So we get to the cookout, and it's a lot of people there. Nice cookout, all the food you can eat, all you can drink, huge backyard. We're having a good time. So these two women come and sit in front of us. They told us that they were part of the church, and one left the church, but they remained friends. And it was a really cordial conversation. But what was going on, the lady was talking, and she said, "Oh, I have two children. One's 11 and one's 13. The 11-year-old is an Aquarius, and the 13-year-old is a Virgo, and the 11-year-old is a girl, and the 13-year-old is a boy." So I'm sitting there like, that's her situation, my friend.
Right.
Except she and her brother are older.
Right.
And then the lady said, yeah, I really, she favored her son. I could hear it.
Yes.
And because I hear favoritism. I don't like favoritism, right? And I said, "You sound like you favor your son more than your daughter." And she said, "Yeah, I do." She admitted it.
Yes.
And I said, "Well, why?" And she said, "Because her son was a preemie. He was born a preemie." I said, "Well, is he a preemie now?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, why do you favor your son more than your daughter?" She said, "Well, my daughter does too much but she couldn't give me an example of what too much was. So I kept pressing her. I said, what does she do? She said she takes her report card and puts it on the refrigerator because she gets all A's. And she does that to antagonize her brother, who's 2 years older. I said, you should be putting her report card on the refrigerator if she's getting all A's.
Can you
So then,
split screen our images and because the Earth, Wind, and Fire is dominating the image right now.
okay. And so, 1 second.
Yes. Okay.
And so she said, well, I think I know what's wrong with my daughter. She lost her father when she was 4 years old.
Yes.
So my friend got up and walked away because this lady was telling her life.
Wow.
She lost her father when she was 4 years old as well.
Yes.
So once she started telling this woman everything about herself, I was thinking like there's something parallel going on. How could all this be happening? We don't even know these two women at all.
Yes.
You know, and so when you talk about, I mean, we could have sat anywhere in there. She was already going through the favoritism, and that's why she was feeling some kind of way, because it's always been that way with her from childhood. And then to meet this woman. So once before we left, the lady said, what can I do to get closer to my daughter? And she said, stop separating them. Stop with the favoritism. Just stop. Just treat them the same way, you know. And I had to come home and journal that, because sometimes these parallels and these synchronicities, when they take place, if you don't write them down, you're going to forget. And then it's good to go back and look. But I was going to ask you, even though, you know, they were human beings or not, I mean, you know, I don't know.
Right.
Could have been. But the fact that that was going on, it's a lot of that happening. I'm finding that I'm meeting people, and it just seems like the energy is just so high. And you can't sit and make things up and say, oh, you know, it's just coincidental. Nothing's coincidental. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. So talk about parallel universes.
Yeah.
Is that an example of a parallel universe?
So yes, the indications of the multiversal realities blending is here. They clone Tyrone, right? that's like the elephant in the room amongst humans right now, right? It's I liked it. It started off so slow, I almost cut it off and deaded it. Because the first half of the movie was like, nah. It was set up. It was the setup part of the movie, but it was really, really so much buffoonery involved in the beginning of the joint that I was like, yeah, I don't know what everybody's excited about, but I'm about to get this joint thumbs down and the off button. But by the grace of Jah, I gave it 10 more minutes and it started to pick up, and it actually turned out to be a pretty nice film. But so the conversation of clones and cloning has been buzzing for years. Interestingly enough, one of the books I suggested last week, The Man from Planet Risk, the master teacher, Amanubi Ruakpata, he been talking about clones and cloning. He been talking about that. He gave examples, you know, of clones and cloning. So these things have been happening since, as he said in the book, these things have been happening since the 1940s, and really before that. These things have been happening for a while, right? Attack of the Clones, right? When you watch the Star Wars movie, you get into understanding that all those stormtroopers, all the dudes that was wearing white with the white helmets on that worked for the Emperor, all soldiers that was against the Jedis, there was a bunch of clones in them suits. So whereas we thinking like, oh man, all these people done signed up to take out, you know, to destroy the earth and ruin our American freedom and all that stuff. Nah, they plan is to create so many clones that don't have no sense of love, no sense of compassion, no sense of, don't get me wrong, there are human beings who are psychologically under a brainwave spell, but they're not being their authentic self. They're just following instructions, and they have been so distorted away from themselves as unique organisms that they can't even think a unique thought, you know. But the movement that they're going towards is that they don't want to depend on the possibility of people thinking freely. So the cloning process. We get some feedback. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But these things are really happening on the planet Earth. Now, with that being said,
your voice is real fast all of a sudden.
Yeah. I started getting real fuzzy. Give me 1 second.
Like an alien.
All right. I think it's my battery. Give me a second.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. My battery was about to die. I just plugged him in. I wasn't paying it no attention. Okay. So going back to the parallel universe thing, though, outside of what they do in the laboratories, universally speaking, we are beginning to understand, overstand, and observe the harmonic fractals of crystallization. Just like when you have a well-cut gem, and if you were to shine an image on that gem, the reflections off of the facets of the gem would cast the same image a number of places at the exact same time, right? So I experience it fairly often. People be like, yo, man, you look just like, oh man, yo, you sound just like, man, you remind me of something. People say that to me often, right? All over the continent of Africa. I just had a conversation with a woman at the market earlier today. She was like, yeah, your people must be from Senegal. I said, people claim me from everywhere. I got folks from Trinidad to be like, yo, you must be from Trinidad. You look just like my nephew. They say, oh man, are you Ethiopian? You Habesha? You Ethiopian? I get people claiming me from everywhere. And I'm Amun. I claim them all right back.
Right.
Yep, sure am. I'm from there. I'm from Earth. I'm an earthling. And then I'm a celestial earthling. But I'm an earthling. I have a universal signature. Right? What I acknowledge in my I am presence and in my I am power embodies all of this. And all of this is dreams coming true. And that's that high value. That's, as they would say, high level conversation. That high level conversation is about how all of this is actually dream. All of this is ether. All of this is light resonant. And tapping in and having moments like that. I just had a moment like that. I was in Philly. A couple days ago, the day before I saw you in DC. Me and my elder, who I've been thinking about and wanting to rap with for a while, I walked past the Asara set in Germantown, and I stick my head in there, say what's up to my family and them in there. A couple of them are doing consultations and just building in there. I keep on walking to go up to one of my favorite raw food restaurants, Mama Bev's spot, all the way live. And one of my babas says, I thought I saw you. He said he drove by and whipped around the block and got out. I said, yo, Baba, come up the street with me and grab with me over all the way live. He said, sure. We walk in. When we walk in, we see a couple people in the back. But we didn't really it was just a couple people. It was pretty empty in the front. We come in, me and him get to chopping it up, bust out the crystals. All of a sudden, some sisters start walking in. Next thing you know, another sister come in, another sister come in, another sister come in. The sisters meet there on Sundays. So we get to talking after they have their whole meeting. We get to chopping it up. Come to find out, the first sister who walked in the door had the same birthday as the Baba that I was building with. And so we started talking about like numerology and stuff like that and birthstones and stuff like that. When she said her birthday, he said, hey, this is my birthday. I looked at him, I said, you see how things be synchronized when we be together? That the first person that walked in got your birthday. So understanding that this is our normal.
Right.
This is our normal. But addressing, pardon me, addressing the conversation of parallel universes is very, very, very valuable to us.
Right. Yes.
It's very, very valuable to us because having a scope, having a familiarity with understanding that all of this is light and vibration, and subjecting ourselves to the context of, blockhead mortal perspectives is not the best honor we can give ourselves. Now, going into that and superheroes, right? So superheroes, the name hero comes from the name Heru, right? Heru is the Kemetic Christ. The people who are Christian and talking about Jesus are talking about Heru. Heru in Greek was called Horus. Horus is where the word hours comes from. So in Revelations, when they say 12 sat by the left side and 12 sat by the right side of the Most High's throne, those 24 elders are the 24 Herus, 24 hours. And the Most High is Ra, the sun, right? So when you get into that further, you give it a astrological reference point. Those 24 can be expressed as masculine and feminine qualities of every zodiac sign. But it can also be observed as the dark side and the light side of every zodiac sign, coming up to 24. No matter how you measure it, once you get into the pure crystallization, it comes out to 12 times 12, which is 144. Hence the conversation about the 144,000. So all of that conversation is addressing Christ-likeness, which is Heru, which is how we deal with our inner son and how we become sons of the Most High, right? So super Herus become beings who have full access to their light body. So the prime superhero of the world is Superman, whose name is Kal-El, which is Kal-Il. Right? Now, Kal-Il, right, or Kal-El is from a planet called Krypton. And Krypton is a planet that's made of a green crystal. And being raised on a planet that is greatly made of green crystal, just like Earth is greatly made of quartz. And when you get into that Man from Planet Risk scroll, that the planet Risk is made of pure crystal quartz. So that planet, which is a twin planet to the Earth, has more of the pure crystal to it than Earth does. It resonates at a higher frequency. The planet Risk has 3 suns. Right?
You said Planet Risk?
Yes, R-I-Z-Q.
Okay, go ahead.
So when we look at these superhero stories, the conversation of us being connected to a crystal planet, the green light, which is the heart chakra, symbolic of the Archangel Michael, or in Islam we say Al-Qidr, the omnipotent, right? The all-powerful, the green one, right? The inner, what happens? He left his home planet and came to a planet with a yellow sun. And the power of the yellow sun gave him supernatural powers that he did not have on his home planet. Hence, Kal-El became known as Superman, right? And other Kryptonians that came here had the same powers, but they did not have a Messiah calling. You know, and that's just the storyline that goes across. So when we talk about super Herus, like I said, these conversations all are in the beginnings of us doing these oracle sessions. These are introductory sessions where we may glide through a number of topics, address a number of things, but we can really, really dig in more thoroughly with each of these things. You know, if y'all want to see some awesome Afrofuturistic images, go on Instagram and type in Art X-Man. Dexter Wanzel. I think this is, I don't know if his last name is Wanzel. Dexter Bowman. Yeah, Dexter Wanzel is a musician. Dexter Bowman, I think, is his name. Amazing, mind-blowing. He's my favorite artist right now, next to my daughter. He's my favorite artist. But he has some Afrofuturism images and reels that are just, yeah. I could definitely live in an animated gallery of his creations and just really just wig out and be like, yo, like people be like, yo, have you seen our moon? They'd be like, yo, he's still in the house. Yo, he in the crib. He ain't coming out. All he do is stargaze all night and be in the crib all day. Like, but yeah, his imagery, you know, is provocative to what you can do with melanin when you allow yourself to tap into your cosmic resonance and ultimately walk into your dreamscape and then bring bits and pieces of your dreamscape right back down here to earth, right? You know, it's very, very, very powerful stuff. But talking about superheroes, let's go with another one. You ever heard of Green Lantern?
No. A superhero?
Green Lantern is the character who has a ring that's made of pure green crystal. And Green Lanterns, a spaceship crashed on Earth, and the alien on board that spaceship by the name of Abin Sur. Abin Sur sounds like a Kemetic Arabic name, don't it?
Say it again.
Abin Sur.
Okay.
Yeah, he Abin Sur crashed and gave Hal Jordan his ring, and the ring he gave him was the most powerful weapon in the universe. It gave him the ability to crystallize three-dimensional holograms, whatever he imagined. As long as his heart was pure, it was backed by willpower. So as strong as his willpower would be as strong as his constructs were. Now, going back to the heart chakra, going back to the 144,000 galaxies and guardians of the galaxies. That's who the Green Lanterns are. They're guardians of the planets and the guardians of the galaxies. And each of those given that green ring, the green ring is very much connected to one of the ancient Om symbols. In some ways, it looks like an infusion of an O and an M. And so the order of green light, the Kawati order, right? The Order of Green Light are the guardians, of the planet and harmonizers of the planet, bringing the planet back to the resonance of green light so that the planet can be in perfect order with the luminaries, and in particular the sun, so that we can be on the proper scale to evolve on a planetary level, right? You know, this was my favorite superhero as a child coming up, Green Lantern. I
Oh,
used to get, remember the ring pops?
yes.
I used to get the ring pop, and when I got done eating the candy off of it, I would run around with the ring and play like I was Green Lantern.
Oh, oh. I never heard of Green Lantern. I gotta look it up.
Yeah, he did. They did a cinematic movie for Green Lantern. I won't say it was garbage, but it wasn't as good as some of the other superhero movies that came out
Hmm.
at all. But Green Lantern's comic book stories, yeah, I grew up reading hundreds of those books. Um, So, you know, the comic books are cosmic books. The dialogue in those books ain't just for kids. It ain't just for playing around. And
Hmm.
I don't know, like people think comic books are just for fantasy. You know, what do you think where do people think the writers are getting this stuff from? People don't think that the writers of these books are getting this stuff from somewhere. They're getting it from us. They're getting it from our stories. So this is the age that we're in right now. This is the age of the super Heru. That's why so many movies have come out about people who had special gifts and abilities, but the forces that be were creating all types of special police forces and technologies to contain people who had superpowers. That's what X-Men was about, right? If
Hmm.
you saw that second X-Men movie, they went to the X-Mansion and started shooting the kids with tranquilizers and kidnapping the kids. That's in the X-Men movie. So these people aren't just scared, they're prepared to interfere with a natural mutation of human beings. Part of the reason why they're reflecting the sunlight back out into the sky
Mm.
is to keep the sunlight from having an effect on the planet's DNA. That's how concerned with control they are.
But how are they able to do that? How? I mean, I don't. How are they
Well,
able to
a
manipulate
bully,
the sun that way?
the reason why a bully can run down a neighborhood and punch everybody in the face is
Mm.
because ain't nobody jump him and beat his ass to a pulp.
Mm.
Or to make it softer, the people haven't put themselves in a position to neutralize that person and make them act right. Because things can be done with energy. Everything ain't got to be done with brute force.
That's right.
But if the only language that a person can understand, the only way that a person can be humble is brute force. Um, you know, my Uncle Norman said to me, "What you do when these boys get in your face?" Because I was getting in a lot of fights and I took a lot of sucker punches. He said, "What you do when these boys get in your face?" He said, "You hit them first or they hit you?" I said, "They be hitting me." He said, "Okay." He said, "When they get in your face, it's either their face or your face. So
Mm.
they shouldn't get in your face unless they want to catch one." That was Uncle Norman's perspective. Um, I don't disagree with that perspective. I just have other ways of looking at things. Because, you know, for me in high school, at least, if I do it and I hit first, I started it, you know? So as a kid, I had to think about the politics of not getting expelled. You feel
Right.
me? And interestingly enough, in this reality, you have to think of similar politics when things come down that pipe. You're
Mm.
saying that you can't just react instantaneously because somebody tries to be a threat and wants to intimidate you. You can't just spaz out.
Mm.
Especially with our people, because unfortunately, our people have not yet gotten to a level of knowing how important we are. So we've actually watched our freedom fighters get hauled off and just shook our head like, that's a shame. And now realize that we just got like totally played. So part of the super Heru reality is not just external power, people who can fly and people who can do that, but it's maturity. It's the level of mind that we tap into. And that's why this conversation is what it is. Afrofuturism, parallel universes, and the age of the superhero. Graduating to a reality, knowing yourself as being from a reality where things are generally functioning on a higher level and all the people around you are used to things flowing on a higher level. That in and of itself rearranges who's around you, who's paying attention to you. All that stuff changes just with the changing of your psychic landscape. Parallel universes. This is the universes offering you a graduation in how you experience life, because all of this is a dream coming true. It just stays familiar until we are ready to graduate from that familiarity, or in particular graduate from that relativity, right? So a lot of people are entangled in relationships with the old world. And then the next conversation of the super Heru thing is, hey, like, this earth is going through a quantum shift right now. We're in that time right now. It's happening everywhere. And the parallel universe thing is happening too. So people who may have been a threat yesterday won't even be on deck tomorrow.
Oh, love it.
You know, one of my elders, resonate in power and peace forever and always, Baba Comey. Baba Comey used to say all the time, can't we just take their gravity from them? If we really know who we are, if we know what we connected to, can't we just take their gravity away? Why are we thinking about this like it's a hard fight? Can't we just affirm? Yeah, just, you're not on my earth no more. Go to sleep and wake up and they're gone. The only ones that can hang around is the ones who are honoring the spirit that we live in.
Yes.
And so in my spiritual school, we refer to that as Al-Kupt. And Al-Kupt is a living being, but Al-Kupt is also a living principle that we all attune to. Al-Kupt means the axis. A-X-I-S, the axis. And when one tunes to the axis, you gain access. So this is part of why our spiritual powers are so important. Ritual is important. What is your water ritual? What is your air ritual? What is your fire ritual? What is your earth ritual? What is your ether, vibration, living consciousness ritual? Strengthen yourself in these ways. Understand yourself as a quintuplicated etheric being, right? Understand that you are a perfect formula of fire, earth, air, water, and ether, right? And continue these practices. And then by your nature, you'll know where you are more developed naturally than other areas, right? But these exercises are important because all of us, this is the age of the super Heru. And it's not just a black thing. You know, as much as our people love to deal with the science of melanin and black this and black that, it's not just you can learn from anybody. And anybody can learn from you. They might not be as naturally gifted as you, and you might not be as naturally gifted as others. You know, do you know what remote viewing is?
Remote viewing?
Did we talk about that last class?
No.
Didn't I talk? I didn't talk about the book that I read about the Hawaiian religion, and that wasn't last week. Man, I've been having so many conversations. Anyway, the art of remote viewing is kind of like a exercise in astral perception, right? It's a graduation of how to move in one of your subtle bodies to be able to perceive things from a quote bird's eye view. And when people get really good at it, they can even look into the past, look into the future, and even some people have been able to look off planet with remote viewing. Even though the story that's being told on the internet about these different laboratories and these groupthink remote viewing groups is that a lot of them get like, at their best, they get like 60% correct views of the future. So they're not really like dead on. But considering the fact that they be right at all, it's saying that they done stumbled upon something. But what they've stumbled upon is the gift of understanding that time is nonlinear. Mm. And that the light body resonates way faster than the physical body. But there are still beings here that are leaps and bounds beyond anything that earthlings are doing with those gifts. I know, what the master teacher used to say was that when we talk about the Anunnaki or the Elohim or the Allahua or the Neteru, that these beings are so advanced in what we call the mind that they could remember the history of our entire planet in about 60 seconds.
Wow.
So what we are tapping into as the mind and what we are capable of in the mental realm is we have so much potential. But being about those exercises is definitely the name of the game. So this is the age of the superhero. This is a time where, with the level of access to resources and information and connections that we have, I draw strong off of my Moorish responsibility as a civilizer of the planet. And so when we understand that this planet is our planet to be caretakers of, and that the ones who are in power are too selfish. Yeah, they're too self-interested to be good caretakers of the planet. They're too caught up in their constructs to be good caretakers of the planet, and they've done too much harm to other beings that were good for the planet. There are too many extinct and endangered species. The fact that various types of tigers and certain types of fish, there are so many different species that are being killed because of man-made creations. This is evidence of somebody who should not be in charge.
Right.
Just not. They might have some of the Heru power, but they are far from super. Because with that super comes the ability to be a good manager and to be a good caretaker. And these beings are dealing with power, but they're quite inferior when it comes to those type of things. So they say Master Teacher Osho says the lowest expression of love is sex. The highest expression of love is compassion. And what we've been referring to as love is between the two. Wow. And so good feelings, things that make your body feel good on the level of touch, that's the lowest vibration of love. It's still love. It's just the lowest vibration of it. But compassion is the highest vibration of love. So in order to be caretakers and in order to show honor to the planet that gave us a life. See, that's for all people. That's not just for melaninites. That's not just for golden skinned, black skinned people. Every earthling has a responsibility to show the planet itself how much they love and appreciate this opportunity. And that will open up the higher octaves of consciousness and spiritual power for them. Now, some people are doing, certain levels of ritual trickery to try to trick the system to get their way. And some of them are getting their way, but they're also proving themselves temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And life does have an eternal resonance to it. Life is everlasting. We can tap into what they call some of us can tap into what they call nebhe, which is the Kemetic Meduniter phrase. Nebhe. He is one of the eight eight Ogdoads. He is eternity. Nebhe means possessor of eternity. We can tap into that. We can activate that. But it's only going to come to those who exhibit certain qualities and certain principles. So a big part of the superheroic personalities we seek is definitely noted in the characters of the Neteru. Offset, Heru, Tehuti, Heru Kahuti, Ma'at, Anpu, Set, Amun, Atum, Khanum, Seshat. These names that even though there are some students and great researchers of ancient Kemet who tried to tell us that these are not gods, they said they're not gods. These are archetypes for levels of consciousness. I agree and disagree with them. I agree that yes, these are archetypes for levels of consciousness. However, these are also actual universal beings. Don't get it twisted. These beings are very real, and just like us, they exist in parallel universes. So if you know yourself as an initiate, they say, well, hey, Christ is on the way. You don't know when he's coming or she's coming. So it's best that you look busy. It's best that you look like you're doing the work. Because your initiation may be at a transformative point right now. And you too, watching this video, may be a graduating superhero. Jumping to a higher parallel universe as you engage in our sweet and beautiful Afrofuturistic reality.
All right. Afrocentric future reality.
Yes.
The Lalo show said hello to you.
Yes, that's my brother Lalo. Good people.
Marlena Brown said hello.
Hey, good peoples. Peace, 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 peace. Yeah, so sun gazing and stargazing is part of our exercise. I really thought, and maybe next time around we'll get into this. But this right here, I showed this to y'all last strong. The keys of Enoch. This is one of the synchronicity scrolls that it talks about how, and I already knew this, but this just gave me more confirmation. But when at nighttime, when you see the constellation of Orion and you see Sirius in the sky, breathe that. Talk to the Most High God by whichever name you know, with the most honorable and friendly. Don't feel silly.
Right.
To talk to the Most High while staring at the stars. Yeah. Don't feel silly about that. Do it. Get loose. Have a conversation like you are a 7-year-old child. Go right on ahead. Do it. Talk to your invisible friend who never ends. Do it. Because it's been confirmed by our ancestors all throughout ancient Kemet, but in the Keys of Enoch talk about too, how the constellation of Orion, just seeing it and looking at it plays a part in our galactical evolution. You know what I mean? So let's grow up on purpose. And let's not stay so tethered to a world that's clearly falling apart.
Mm.
I mean, it's clearly falling apart. Like
It really is. It is.
I mean, I'm going through the airport now, and I'm starting to see how the face recognition technology is starting to do the thing. And your cell phone, your iPhone takes a picture of your face a number of times every day, and all of this camera stuff to load the information onto the. Come on, you guys. What does it all mean, and what's it all for?
Control.
But surely we know that wherever all this information is being gathered by whoever the group of people who are going to sit oh so mighty, proud, and arrogant, surely we know that that person is going to wake up with pure amnesia one day.
Mm.
That the people who work for that person are going to fall totally apart. They're not going to remember who, what, when, where, why, or how, anything about it. Because the programming of the planet will send out a pulse that changes all that stuff. How do we know this is real? The story of the Tower of Babel is a small example. They said Nimrod had all of the Canaanites all aligned under his order. He was building the Tower of Babel, which was a space antenna, so that he could have a Stargate to go into other star systems and things of that nature. Then the El Elo of the planet, or the, in our spiritual order, we say the 23rd elder of the 24 elders, the one who is not the Most High, but the one who was right next to the throne that gets to make the call, came down here and said, hey, homie, Sargon, what you doing, bro? You don't have right to do this. You didn't get the right from the El Elo to do this. And he said, I don't need to deal with no intermediaries to deal with Anu. I don't have nobody. Like, I don't gotta holler at y'all. I do what I want. I'm a Nephilim. I don't have to do what you want. No. What you don't understand is that there's a Khalifa for this planet, and it ain't you. We get that you from the old, you from the ancient ones, you one of those beings from the ancient ones, but you have to get in order, cuz I ain't doing it. I'm okay, bro. We told you. Bloop, Tower of Babel knocked down, and all of the people who was in that region, and pretty much the spell affected the entire planet. Now, all these languages all over the planet. And the big question is, what happened to the mind to cause this many languages, which don't reflect as versatility as much as it reflects as inability to communicate? Because that's what it is. Something happened deliberately that shattered the one mind into a billion vibrational pieces. And we all plug back into the mind now with all these different sound codes. But once upon a time, it wasn't this complex. Once upon a time, we could probably go to Mozambique and talk to an elder who's 98 years old, and they could tell us something about the earth 14,000 years ago. They could tell us who we are in the parallel universe that's primed to that space and time. And we would understand it just like we understand this conversation we're having right now. So these are planetary conversations. And for those of us who would like to live a very complete life, because I was taught at a young age, live your life on your own terms, because that gravestone has 2 numbers on it and a hyphen. And it's up to us to define the meaning of that dash between them 2 numbers.
That's right.
So while you're here living on a planet, go ahead and be planetary.
I love you, Amun.
I love you. It's good
Thank
stuff.
you so much.
Yes.
I needed to hear all this.
Yes. So y'all got some research to do. Y'all know, you dig into the Afrofuturism. Y'all can find me once again at Temple of Soul. That's TEMPLEOFSOL on Instagram, and Zodiank, ZODIANKH.com for some of the talismanic work that I do. We do some custom made pieces that are going to be oh so right. Please share the videos with your friends.
Yes.
That's looking for the upgrade.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we're picking up the tempo too. We're gonna start advertising more and get people involved in the party, because you know what? We got some retreats and stuff coming. We got some gatherings and stuff coming. We're gonna link up. We're gonna link up in DC and do a couple of things. Have some conversations at one of them sweet Ethiopian spots out there. And we're gonna do it real right. You know what I'm saying? And,
we ready.
You know, we know that we know that DC is the belly of the beast, but you know what?
Excuse me?
The beast is a servant. The beast ain't the king. I mean, you know, we do. I mean, I'm just saying, as far as a colony state, you know what I'm saying? As a colony state, we know that Washington, D.C., Vatican, and London are the 3 points of the, you know, the so-called Illuminati. You know what I'm saying? And they run their international governments by way of these 3 centers. But we ain't tripping on that, because when we come up in there, everything work for the Most High. Everything and everybody. Anybody who don't should just shut up and mind their business, because the government of the Most High is coming into the planet and ain't nothing nobody can do about it. The more you get in the way, the more you ruin your own plan.
That's
so
right.
Fall back and know that we some loving people. And if you really don't bother us, we'll mess around and make your life better. So just get on board the Great Space Coaster, because it's going to be something real sweet going on. Ain't nobody got to be a hater. You know what I'm saying? Just get in where you fit in, sit back, relax, chill, get you a strawberry shake or something, and enjoy the podcast.
I can't wait. Bye at TV-DMV, everybody. Great evening. Peace.
Soon come. One love. Easy.
One.